Yo, people, I'm back. And oh boy, are we going to have fun with this video here today. I'm psyched. I'm telling you, I can't wait. First and foremost, you're going to see the title of this video, which is basically going to be, why is it that PlayStation fans, or fanboys, right, always move the goalposts when it's in their favor? And the same logic applies to some Nintendo dudes or Nintendo weirdos or whatever people call them, right? Or you know what I mean? And we're going to have fun with this. And I'm going to let you guys know right now, disclaimer. If you don't like what I have to say, if you don't like who I'm talking about, who I don't talk about, if you feel that it's towards you or it's not towards you, you know who you'll be, you know who you'll not be. I don't have to name names because I'm not making nobody a star on my channel or on my videos, okay? So I don't name names, okay? You figure it out on your own. Guilty conscience has no accuser. So if it applies to you, if you don't like it, you can leave all the hate comments you want because I wipe my ass with all your comments. I can care less, okay? That's why people don't like me, because I'll say what I got to say, whether you like it or not, in your face, right? Through podcasts, through video. I don't hide myself. You know, I don't care. You know, like some others do, that they do nothing but hide themselves behind stupid pics or don't talk at all, okay? So we're going to have fun with this. Yeah, you know, it doesn't fail to amaze me how this whole thing always pans out. And yet, people want to talk with logic, but they only, especially the fanboys on the PlayStation side and on the Nintendo side, when it applies to them in favor of their console or the gaming platform of choice, which I've said so many times that in reality, you know, that's great. Doesn't matter. That's cool. You could like what you like. I would prefer console. Doesn't matter. That's not the issue. The issue is when you don't call the bullshit when it pertains to you, but you want to call bullshit on other consoles that, one, y'all don't even play, and two, most of you guys don't even own. Don't even play, don't even own, and yet you want to have something to say. And then use the fucking logic of, oh, well, look at Metacritic. Look at what it says about the console. Look what it says about game sales and the games and review. When everybody knows that real gamers do all their judging of any consoles or any games based on their own self-experience. You can use a Metacritic maybe as a guideline, but you're really not going to take it as serious as you would playing it yourself or buying it yourself. And if you feel that the game's going to burn you, you're not really sure about it, you wait until it's either on sale, you rent it out, or you gamefly it to protect yourself. And then once you play it and you see if you like it or not, you make the decision, you go out, you buy it, or you purchase it, you do what you got to do. Period. It's that simple, okay? You know, yesterday I seen a couple of videos, a 2-hour podcast, people talking about this, you know, Horizon Zero Dawn thing about it inspiring, you know, Microsoft to make that move of making Fable, okay? And yeah, nobody looked at it from a logical standpoint. Everybody looked at it as, you know, like making fun of Microsoft. Like, look, Microsoft, you know, they need Sony now to help them out to make things, make these type of decisions, or because Sony's on top of the game and they're not, or whatever the logic may be behind whatever they say in their videos or their podcasts, right? Okay? Which is funny as hell because, first of all, everybody that knows Fable knows that Microsoft been very verbal, that the Fable franchise from 1 to 2 was not as profitable as many people thought. It was profitable, but not as much as a lot of people thought. You know, it sold well, but not like, you know, Gears of War numbers or maybe Forza numbers or obviously Halo numbers or something like Uncharted, those type of numbers. But it did fairly well, you know. But I guess it kept digressing and going down as the games came out, you know, because Fable 3 was really not the one that a lot of the Fable fans had in favored or really liked in comparison to the Fable 1 and 2. And for those of you who don't know, they also made Fable, you know, The Journey on Connect, and they had a beat-em-up Fable, which was awesome, in the Fable universe, but with puppeteers almost like, looking like Pinocchio, called Fable Heroes, right? Which also didn't sell, which was on the Xbox Marketplace, right? Now, when they said what they said, they weren't talking. This wasn't even stated by Microsoft. So there's an article either from Forbes or whoever the hell it was, GameSpot, Kotaku, I don't know, whoever. They interviewed the guys, supposedly dudes, that says that he knows what's going on behind the whole Fable resurgence of them making the decision of making the game, and that Microsoft was inspired by the sales of and success of Horizon, which is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and that's good if it did inspire Microsoft, because the reason for that is because they already had gave up on Fable, especially with the backlash that they got with Fable Legends. So maybe when they saw for sure how this Horizon Zero Dawn game had some success for Sony, right? And it was done by another developer like Guerrilla Games, they figured, well, you know what? Instead of leaving it in the back burner for later on, because they did trademark the name to keep, I guess, the rights to the Fable franchise, even though they closed Lionhead Studios, they probably were going to leave it in the back burner for a while and not really go back to it and give people time to miss it and kind of forget about it, to then reintroduce it and, reinvigorate. But they probably saw, since the Horizon Zero Dawn style of game is like Witcher or Witcher 3, they're like, you know what, this is really what's hot right now. It's getting a lot of good praises. Why don't we just maybe try to do a new Fable game with a new developer that really you wouldn't expect, an unorthodox developer that you wouldn't really expect be able to handle something like Fable, to do, right, the game in the vein and in the style of The Witcher 3 and Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Because we all know that some of the developers from The Witcher 3 worked as advisors to, the Guerrilla Games when they made Horizon Zero Dawn, because that was in a post. They had wrote an article about that, right? And make Fable more open world, maybe more photorealistic, or, grounded in reality, maybe, in that British timeline, and where you can travel with horses and maybe carriages or whatever the case may be, which is fantastic, and I'm not saying that, and for that, yeah, thank you. So, Sony and Guerrilla and Horizon for, taking a chance where now other people are not afraid to take that chance. In this case, Microsoft. But the real point of that comment came from the fact that they gave up on Fable. They were not even going to probably even bother to do Fable for a while. And that was the real gist of it. But then people try to, especially the fanboys, the PlayStation fanboys, change it around and loop it around and move the goalposts this way now, talking about, it was Microsoft, because, Sony's set in the way, they're the leaders, they're showing how to do things, when that's not even the reality of it, you know what I mean? They're just looking at it as a franchise, the different approach and the different gameplay style. Why don't we try it that way, since it worked for this game, for Sony, and that way for, CD Projekt Red with Witcher 3, right? Because now all of a sudden everybody's a Witcher fan. That's another thing. And they didn't even play Witcher 2 either on PC or on the 360, which was exclusive to 360 only, all last generation. And then I'm like, well, you never see these guys, and shout outs to my boy Sega Forever, because he did a great video talking about this, talking about how, PlayStation dudes do things voluntarily to be spiteful or mean, as opposed to the Xbox dudes, we do things reactionary. We're reactionary, meaning we'll see the dumb stuff in the media with the fanboys, with the trolling, and we'll react and do a video theming our thoughts about what they're doing, calling them out how stupid they look when they don't really think about the bigger picture, or all the variables, or how everything came to be in fruition and the light, how it all stemmed from this and not from this only. They don't give you all the details. They just give you the details that shows the benefits, if it's benefiting to make PlayStation look good, or to make the Nintendo look good, right? With the Nintendoids, or with Nintendo weirdos, whatever. You didn't see people doing reactionary videos or 2-hour podcasts talking about how Sony put in finally external hard drive support, when this was a thing since the beginning of the 360. Or that Sony, implemented a trophy system like the achievement system, because their fans asked for it when they saw it, on Xbox. Okay, because it gave them more of an incentive to play more games, right? Or when Microsoft, announced, had put in the OG Xbox built-in hard drives so that you can save your games right on the, right on the console, or burn discs to listen to music, and then sure enough later on, everybody followed suit and practiced it in most cases. I'm not talking about Nintendo, but I think even Nintendo did it with the Wii. I'm not even sure. It just was a smaller amount of memory. But you get the point. Or things like, Party Chat that was created and then they implemented. Or the fact that Microsoft was the first console to implement the ability of you having apps on your console, like Hulu and Netflix and all that other good stuff, which that was the reasoning for them having it behind a paywall. Because when that all started on 360, it was in its infancy, it was new. So these companies need to make money through not only advertisement, but through the subscriptions, so they would get a certain percentage. So it was behind paywall, right? As an incentive, but obviously as it got bigger and now you have more advertisement and you have more people supporting it and actually having Netflix subscription, and now it's a multi-million-dollar corporation, maybe even billion, and even Hulu, and to give you an example. Well, now, it doesn't need to be behind a paywall, because I believe on the PS3, since it came out later on and they implemented it later on, it was free. It wasn't behind a paywall. But again, it wasn't at the greatest quality and greatest streaming, even though they use low latency streaming for their service. But the point was Sony was trying to compete because Microsoft was ahead of the game with the online structure, way ahead of the game compared to them. And you never see anybody, you didn't see PlayStation or Xbox guys doing 2-hour podcasts about, look, how Sony don't got this, how Sony, or even videos and about Sony didn't do this. It's because of Xbox Sony did that. We'll mention it in videos when the topic comes up, but we didn't just go do a video about it for 40 minutes, half hour, or do an hour podcast, 2-hour podcast talking about it, because to us, it wasn't about. It was never about what Sony does and what Xbox does. Microsoft guys, we worry about what we get and what we got coming from Microsoft. We can care less about what Sony's doing, okay, in their platform. That's why we are satisfied with what we get, And you see these guys always, as soon as you see something that is in favor of Sony, oh my God, Sony's moving the way, paving this, paving that. Even things like motion control, rumbles in the controllers, that started back in I believe it was the Nintendo 64 era. It was on Dreamcast, and then where it was inside the controller itself with haptic feedback. I think it was owned by Microsoft, and then they had a whole big thing. That's why it wasn't originally implemented on the PS3 controllers, etc., etc. You get the gist of it. Like, for example, you get these Nintendo guys, Microsoft games don't have no substance like Zelda and Mario. Well, I would think Zelda and Mario have substance because it's by the same creators. They've been around for 35 years or more. They're experts and masters of their craft. Obviously, they're not going to make a shitty Zelda game or a Mario game. They don't know how. But those games are more about the gameplay as opposed to just the story and lore, with the exception of maybe, obviously, Zelda. And they also take a very long time to come out, right? But my question would be to them like, okay, well, tell me what Nintendo game has not only a single-player campaign, but a single-player campaign that you could play actually co-op, right? And also has a multiplayer component aspect into it that you can, give with the game and in the world, and in the game world, to complement and obviously to help, people like, let's say, to not help, but to, serve the gamers that like online gaming, you know what I mean? And that like the universe of Halo, and let's say something like Gears, or let's say something like State of Decay, or something like, Crackdown, where they like those worlds and universe and they want to play multiplayer modes in those universe and those worlds, okay? And then when you ask them that, they go, they'll move the goalpost and say, those two games that Nintendo got better than any Xbox game. Are you kidding me? Then you ask them, did you play it? Do you even own an Xbox? No, but I seen it. Look at Metacritic. Look at the score. Get the hell out of here with that dumb stuff. Are you serious? The Metacritic don't mean anything. Half of the time, the Metacritic scores that you get are coming from the same sites, okay, that are doing articles talking about Microsoft does not care about the environment because the console consumes too much power, and they didn't give you the option to put a power save mode in the console. When later on they did it, and they didn't retract the article and said, well, obviously, Microsoft did something about it, and they, responded to the feedback. The same way they'll say, oh, I can't find the settings, when all you have to do is, hey, Cortana, go to settings when the Xbox first came out, in places like GameSpot, which is fucking ridiculous. So no, I don't understand why. Why is that? What y'all talk about? Y'all got such great games on y'all platform, such great experiences on y'all platform, but yet y'all always crying and worrying about what is going on the Xbox ecosystem, with Xbox games, with Xbox features, or what Xbox is doing as far as it goes with the executives, with their decisions and things of that nature. If your world is so great on PlayStation and on Nintendo, why do you care? What does it matter? See, a person like me, or a person like Crap that people hate on a lot, or a person like let's say Next Gen, whatever, or even my boy, 100, let's say, right, or J Long, or Kaleida, or Ghost Rider, okay, we buy all the consoles because we like games, right? We'll play all the consoles. We'll play the games, okay? I'm not necessarily saying we beat all the games. Well, we'll play it where we'll get the idea of the gameplay mechanics, of what the story's about, or what's alluding to, or what the graphics look like, or what the game feels like when you're playing it, which gives us enough information to know if we want to stick with the games and play them enough to beat them, or if we just put them in the back burner, wait for them for a little while, or, if when we play them, what we think if once we finally get to beat them and play them, if we like them a lot or not, if we like the story, not really the gameplay, that gives us that our perception and idea and judgment because we've owned them and played the games. But half of these Nintendo guys, and especially PlayStation dudes, oh my God, especially PlayStation dudes, they don't even own the console. They never even played one of the games. They just go, oh, well, look at this. Metacritic says it all. Look, dude, Metacritic said that Gears of War 1, when it first came out, was a 95 or 94, right? Then this year or 2 years ago when the Gears of War Ultimate came out, that was essentially the same exact game, but it was better because it was built from scratch, so it had better graphics, it had better gameplay mechanics, more polished, or more robust online, more online multiplayer maps, had more modes, it was 60 frames per second and in 1080p online, and it had added campaign that was never available in console, just on PC. And they said it was an 81 now, or 82. Because it has too much A button. When every game that has gameplay, it has a dedicated button that's designed to do most of the commands. Because it's the main button for the gameplay aesthetics of whatever game it is. Every game. Okay? Which is fucking proof right there that we live in a different type of game era and generation of gaming in era. Okay? We still had some journalists back then that worked within the media or within the structure of gaming, right, in these sites, that actually still respected this culture or this hobby, right? Where they were being honest and as fair to all companies, not just to PlayStation or to Nintendo. Well, as opposed to now, most of the guys are younger, and what they like is what they grew up with. So they either grew up with Nintendo 64, the Nintendo GameCube, the Nintendo 3DS, PlayStation 2, or PlayStation 3, right? Or the PS Vita, whatever, or PlayStation PSP. So all they see and drool and shit and fart, excuse my language, is those set companies, those brands. I have dudes where I live that are PlayStation heads that never touched an Xbox in their life, ever. Their first console was a PlayStation, and their only console was a PlayStation or a Nintendo. That's it. Yet they want to sit there and like, oh, Xbox not better than PlayStation. Like, what the? How so? And then you tell them to explain it. They can't explain it to you. They just say, oh, because it sells more than Xbox. Or because it has more games. Listen, just like Hellblade, when it came out and it didn't sell as much numbers, it was profitable for the developer, but it wasn't profitable for Sony because they didn't sell enough copies. But the bottom of the difference is Hellblade was not funded by Sony. They only published it to market the game on their console. Meaning, Ninja Theory went to them and told them, since you have a bigger install base, we want to put the game on your platform to see how it sells, and we only want to put it digitally to sell it for a cheaper price and give a AAA quality to the game. And they agreed on it. It was a handout. They chose the platform based on the ratio of the sales, right? And the game still sold 200,000, which proves, without a shadow of a doubt, that logic about having a bigger install base is not real. Maybe with multiplats, because there's more casuals than hardcore people, but not with an exclusive title like that. That's more hardcore and niche for people that like playing all types of games. Which I'm pretty sure something like Sunset Overdrive sold more than Hellblade. Way more. The same way, and the difference is that if Microsoft did Recore, they did Sunset Overdrive, and they did Rise, and they also did Quantum, this generation. And what the difference was, they helped publish and develop the games. They even own the Quantum Break and Recore IP. Third-party developer did it for them and created it, and they own it. Now, Rise and Sunset, they didn't own. It belongs to Crytek, and it belongs to Insomniac. But they made the deal of keeping it exclusive, and they paid for the exclusivity. And how did they do that? By helping them develop and pay and fund the game, which is not what Sony does with their games. Sony didn't pay for Berserk. Sony didn't pay for Neo Automata. Sony didn't pay for Neo. Sony didn't pay for Persona 5. Sony didn't pay for Hellblade. Sony didn't pay for, what the hell is called the other game? Yakuza 0 or 6. Those were not paid for by Sony. Sony was given those for free by the developer based on the attachment ratio of the sales of the console. Here you go. The same way people want, oh, but the software sales so way more now on it's the same as it was on PlayStation 4 now, or if not better than it was on 360 or PlayStation 3. No, because the PS3 and the Xbox 360 era, there were more AAA games than there is now. So they're talking about sales based on profit, okay? Plus, you got to take into consideration the ratio and the accountability. Indie games were what was moving forward the PlayStation 4 console when it first came out in the beginning of this generation. That's what they relied on. And indie games cost $10, $15, $20, which is way easier for people to buy than a $65 game. That's one ratio, right? Or that's one variable. Another variable, PlayStation has VR games that are selling. Again, because people bought the VR, they want to see how it is, they want to try it out. Whether they're full games or experiences, irrelevant. Those games cost $20 and $30, which is way easier than buying a $65 game. Same thing with the remaster with Crash. It did well for them because it was a real remaster, right? But it was with 3 games, but it was $40, so it did well. Just like Rare Replay did well for Xbox. Just like Gears of War did well for Xbox, the Ultimate Edition. Just like what's the other game? Just like the Halo Master Chief Collection did well for Xbox because it had all 4 games or 6 games. It had over 100 maps. 8 maps were done from scratch. You know, it had 6 engines running out in real time. 2 of the original OG Xbox games that you could change around on the fly, and things like a real graphic enhancements with real detail, even in the CGs and in the frame rates and in the and in the textures. All that came into account. That's why they did well for Microsoft. You know what I'm saying? So again, like I've said or I've talked about before, you know, that's another variable. Okay? But Microsoft doesn't have VR this generation. Microsoft has a lower install base this generation. And still, even multiplats are selling just as well. Like Call of Duty, an example. It has about 9 to 8 million install base on Xbox, and on PlayStation it has 12 million. For the difference in the count of the hardware sales, that's pretty impressive. That tells you Xbox dudes tend to buy more games than PlayStation dudes. The other variable, Phil Spencer already came out and said, and Microsoft came out and said, that 70 or 57% or 54% of their games this generation that are being bought and purchased are digital, not physical. Which they're never going to give their digital fucking prices or digital numbers. They never have. No one does, except Sony. They'll say, oh, we sold this much and this much digitally. Okay? So that's another variable. The other big variable, that last generation and this generation, Microsoft wasn't even a presence in Japan. In Japan, there's over 4 million, maybe 5 million PS4s. There's only like 64,000 Xbox Ones. So right there alone, all those millions of numbers of sales and software that you get from the Japanese market, you can't compare it with Xbox because there's only 67,000 as opposed to 4 million plus units. That's a retarded number. So when they talk about software sales being not as great on PlayStation, they're talking about exclusives. Games that sell from PlayStation that makes them profit. And their exclusives are not selling as well as they were in the past with other consoles, or as well as they should. But since it works in favor, to make it seem like, well, they're misinterpreting when Microsoft sales, most of the sales were from American sales, and most of the sales were from either, what do you call that, from Canada and America, which are actual American sales. And there were on the 360 area, remember, there was way more AAA titles. And on the Xbox side, the indie space was selling a lot more games on that generation as well, comparable to the PS4. Because the indie market last generation really wasn't big. They only had maybe 2 big games, which was Flower and Journey. Okay, so you can't compare it to the Xbox, where they had things like Castle Crashers, Alone, Limbo, Braid, what's the other one they had? Dust, whatever. They just had way more games that weren't even present on the PS4 or the PS3. But they were digital, so they don't count them. Okay? So those numbers, when they say software sales, they don't count them. They're not counted. So if it works, stop saying that it works in that, if you're using that metric that they use for the PS4, for some, and not all, not everyone, but for some who are saying that it applies the same, and that means that 360 didn't sell as much. Please, stop it. Stop it. Because you're moving the goalpost. This generation, Sony's more games sold that are cheaper, which is the indie space. So obviously you're going to sell more games because you're selling games that are $12 and $15 and $20 as opposed to a $65 game. Plus Sony's selling games for VR that are selling for the VR headsets, people trying it to see how the games are. That's another variable. Okay? And then the multiplats are selling on Sony's console, but that's not profit directly to Sony because they didn't make the games. That's other developers and other companies that are making. They just get a small percentage, just like Microsoft. But when you compare them to the sales of Microsoft's AAAs like Forza, Halo, and Gears, you know what I'm saying? They don't come close. The numbers don't match. The Microsoft games sell more. Cuphead now, even PUBG, even though it's not theirs, but they're helping developing it. They're helping pay for it for the development and publishing it. They're doing everything. They're paying out of their pocket for everything. When Sony's not. Sony didn't pay for Berserk to be on that console, or for Berserk to be developed, or Neo. Matter of fact, they didn't even publish Neo on the PC or Japan. They only published it for PS4 because when they put the demo out, they got all that good media press after Bloodborne's success that they wanted to capitalize on that success. I'm like, you know what? Let's publish it. Let's back it up to make it seem like we believe in the project when the project's been in development for almost 10 years as opposed for what the ramblings are, and the proof goes as far back as 10 years ago, to make themselves look like the poster boy, like the good guys, right? And because a lot of stupid fools that don't know any better fall for that shit because they don't know any better. They don't do their homework. They just talk based on what is positive or works to their favor in articles and in the media. Okay? So listen, all I want to know is the $1 million question. Why do y'all care if y'all don't play the games? If y'all don't own the consoles? If y'all don't, if it doesn't hurt you personally, obviously, and if it's so great in your side of the land, on PlayStation land, or whether it's Nintendo land, why does it bother you so much that you spend hours upon hours on Twitter and people's threads or comments on people's videos talking about how great your console is, how shitty Xbox is, and you are the guys that act like stalkers. Y'all act like borderline women, high school girls. Some of you can say you act like you gay or homosexuals, stalking men, other men, because of their opinion or their thoughts when they're giving it to you as clear as possible and as concise and as clear, telling you why they're saying what they're saying. Like Nintendo with selling this kit that's a cardboard, made out of cardboard, that if it gets wet, it's ruined. And it's $80 fucking. Meanwhile, the Kinect was a problem. Even when they took it out and gave it to you as an option, it's a problem, but yet Kinect will let you do all those things those cardboards provide, which is acting like cardboard peripherals, right? With the Kinect, just with gestures and movement. And it's actual technology that you can use for other things and benefit you in other ways. As opposed to this, it's just dedicated for whatever you built it for, whether it's a camera, whether it's pedals for a car racing game, whether it's a steering wheel, whether it's a backpack that you can fly. You can do all those gestures on that Kinect without having to pay for none of that cardboard stuff. And people are, it's only game. It comes with the game. Nah, they never said it came with the game. And if it's not, and even if it is, it's still pricey. Because that's like paying for a mobile game that you would get for $2 on a phone or on a tablet, and you're paying for it for $70 or $80 just because it comes with a cardboard kit so you can design steering wheels and fishy rods and things like that. That's retarded. You can't damage control that. If you're damage controlling that, you're only lying and fooling yourself, and you're lying to yourself. Okay? And then that shows how much more Sony fans, or Nintendo fans in this case, can be corporate slaves to a company. Because whatever they do is masterful. But when the Microsoft does something that's innovative, actually using technology, that's long term, that you can actually keep for a long time because it's high quality or good quality, Microsoft's trying to steal from the consumers. They're trying to be anti-consumer. They don't want to give us choices or options. Like, it's a bad thing now to have backwards compat when you have games in your house for years and years and years that you got to keep the consoles in order to play them. And now they eliminated that to a certain extent. Well, you don't have to do that anymore. And you still got to do that with PlayStation consoles or with Nintendo consoles until they decide to do the same thing Microsoft did. Same thing like people, they make too much controllers, but yet every controller is designed to appeal to certain fans. They make Gears controllers for the Gears fans. They make Halo controllers for the Halo fans. They're making CFDs for the potential CFD fans. They give you options, but those controllers are controllers that you're going to be able to use from this point forward for any console that exists in the future, okay? Which was already stated. Plus, if they take controllers that are sitting as peg warmers in the store, they bring them back in as inventory like they did with the Elite, and now they're repurposing it to make an Elite 2 so that they don't lose money. So it's repurposing. It doesn't take a lot of money to repurpose something that are already created and exists. Okay? It's called recycling the technology to make something new and fresh, to resell it, to see if people like what you do. It's smart business. That's why Microsoft keeps making the money, instead of people sitting there making fun of them, right? But when Nintendo want to charge you $60 for the same Mario Kart game that you have, or the same Zelda game that you had on Wii U, just because they added a new map or new characters, it's okay. Get out of here with that. I'm done. That's like what I have to say. Just, if anybody that's a Nintendo fan or a Sony fan can answer me, why is it that you guys love moving the goalposts, or why, when it's in favor to your platform, or why is it you think you have the rights to talk about an Xbox game or Xbox in general as a brand or a console when you don't even own them or ever played them in your life? Why is it that makes you think that you have a right to make a statement or an opinion or a video or comments when you have no validation on what you're saying, because you have no personal experience with that brand or those consoles or those games? You do realize you're making yourself look like a fool, because you're wrong. because you don't play them. You don't own them. You don't know what you're talking about. Thank you for joining. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Like I said, follow me on Twitter or on Xbox Live. You guys already know. Or, intromediagaming.com with my boy, Mr. 100, Mr. DeLeon. Sure enough, Tuck Master, just to name a few. My boy K Mega. Okay? Or at the Infinite Rooms of the DX Mansion with my boy New Legal Felon. Obviously, Sean Murray. Great guys like Ricardo Vasquez. My family over there, but being respectful because we don't let just any troll in. Okay? And obviously with my boys in the UK, the Micropot of X. Okay? With my boy Microbots, which he's going through some family issues. May God bless you. My prayers go out for you and your family. I hope everything is well. Okay? It's very sad to hear what's your situation, and it hurts for me not to be able to be there and help you guys, because I know what it feels like. And also, obviously, Ulch Gamer, Depoy, the Shermanator, Insomnitech, and Andy Mackey, or Andy McKee. Sorry, Andy. Okay, and then my usual suspects from the DirectX, my family as well. Kaleidoscope, Ghost Rider, J Long, E-Rock, Sega Forever, Kenny Thomas, Big Kahuna, Sir Merkham, Master Chief, you know what I mean? All those great guys that are family to me and friends to me. My boy Cray Simmons, up and coming, you know what I mean? That gives love and support to all of us. Great people like Mooch and Luca that are also in the community, whether they follow us or not is irrelevant. Okay? They're still doing their own thing and for, what we all love, which is gaming. Guys, let me know what you think. Because please, if you have the answer, $1 million answer, I would love to know. I would love to know. Because I don't get it. It just don't make no sense to me. Xbox for life, like a sickness that can't be cured. That's my saying. That's my slogan. Don't get triggered, people. It's gaming. And it's just my feelings. If you don't like them, you don't have to accept them. I understand. I'm not trying to force you to like what I like. I'm my own person. So are you. Be good, guys. Love you. Thank you for the support.